Little insider information there.
Yeah, it's that's a trick I learned some time ago. It's like these people don't want to connect, and somebody showed me that. I was like, oh, just a little higher level of privacy, got it. So that way the bot farms are a little bit harder to grab. But Tay, I'll get you started. Hey, today we're joined by Teja McDaniel. Today we're joined by Teja McDaniel, a transformational global operations people and strategy executive with over 15 years of experience helping organizations scale from startups to Fortune 10 giants. He's delivered billions in revenue impact and millions in cost savings while building best-in-class talent HR and operational infrastructures across North America. He's known for shaping culture, cutting attrition, and helping companies become number one in their industries from tech to construction to nonprofits. He's also the author of How to Get a Better Job, Insider Secrets to Superpower Your Search. Today, he's here to share his expertise on what civilian employers are really looking for, how veterans can position their military experience for leadership and growth, and insider strategies to land the right roles in the civilian workforce. Sir, I pass it off to you. You're the man of the hour, so all you, brother.
All right, fantastic. So that sounds like a lot of blah, blah, blah. But I will tell you, I'm not your typical HR and talent acquisition professional. I actually like people, and thank you for the honor of spending some time with all of you. And I hope that you find the information that I am providing today not only useful, but also impactful, because that's music to my ears to hear that you found a fantastic job, that you found a job that makes you happy, that is fulfilling. And at the same time, something that you can see growth with, because that's also super important. The three major total motivators at work are really, can you find joy in what you do? Do you find that you're making an impact? And the other part is, what's the career path? Where are you growing with your organization? Where are you growing your career? So when you're taking a new job, these are some things to be thinking about. Now, just before we get started, I have a presentation to give, but I wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. Hopefully, everyone's got something to write with and something to write on. I've got some notes definitely to share with you. I will also share my deck with Seven Eagle so that you can have that opportunity to revise it. Also, there's going to be the video recording. But I also wanted to make sure that in this moment that you had the opportunity to take some notes, because as we know with anything, we really learn things through repetition. So with that said, I'm also going to leave some time at the end for Q&A. You can ask me anything under the sun you want. You will get a straightforward, honest answer. And again, I've been in this game for a long time. Sometimes I come across individuals where they're frustrated and they're not getting ahead with things. And recently, for example, there was an individual who approached me and basically had a career in one area, but there were skill sets that really transitioned to another area. The problem was how he was branding himself was kind of like saying, hey, I want to be seen as a horse, but I look like a zebra. And if you're screaming zebra, zebra, zebra with your own personal branding, you need to figure out a way as to how do you look like that horse. So there are different ways to do that. And of course, if you ever want to hit me up, once we're connected on LinkedIn, you could message me directly. It's the best way to get a hold of me. I will respond to you. I will give you an answer. I will give you an answer that is really from my experience that I've gone through myself, much of it trial and error. Much of it has been what I've observed, as mentioned by Ernst, Big Four, Fortune 500, startups, really a whole assortment of different industries. So use that plethora of information. Definitely leverage me for what I know, because I really do want to help you. So, with that being said, let me get started here. All right, all right, as Matthew McConaughey would say. So, currently, your situation is probably you're doing a lot of applying for jobs and not necessarily seeing the return on the amount of applications that you're sending out. I will also tell you very quickly, if you're not sending within the first day, you're probably looking at what used to be a few hundred of individuals applying probably 12 months ago, 18 months ago. Now, very easily on the back end, as recruiters, we're seeing thousands. And I will tell you the greater majority of recruiters, and this is something I say in my book, are really not worth their weight in sand. Um, they are individuals that tend to be very lazy. They don't use a lot of imagination. So while they're looking at you and trying to fit you into a box, and this is something I covered before in regard to your titles, look up titles that are reflective of what you've done, but using a title from the corporate world. Um, for example, like if you're a captain, maybe you're a director level. Mention how many people did you lead? Your KPIs, are probably nothing short of 100% because of the expectation that you had in the military. But again, you're hitting a bottleneck. How do you get around that? So, what I want to talk to you is about something that is probably way off of the radar in terms of what you've heard or seen before, but bear with me. So, I really want you to think about like a maverick momentum, something that is going to be energetic, have some moving force to it. And at the same time, you're being very super strategic. So, what exactly is the problem? Right now, you're not getting responses for all the applications that you're doing. What's going on? You're in a bottleneck. Most recruiters will probably only read 40 to 60 resumes out of those thousands and think that they've done their job because what happens? Either they're interviewing you or they're sending that resume over to the hiring manager, and the hiring manager is going, "Oh, I like these ones. I don't like these ones." If there are enough that they like, the recruiter's doing a happy dance thinking they've done their job. And in the meantime, if there were thousands of people that applied, what happens to the other 1,940 folks that never get seen? You're lucky if you get a message that says, "Thank you very much, but no thank you. You were great. You were wonderful, but we're not calling you. We're not moving forward." If you're lucky. Okay. And that's not even being lucky. So what's the deal? So statistically, 12% of the roles that are available are actually the ones getting posted. That means that 88% are not. These are conversations that are happening behind the scenes before anything gets posted. Maybe it won't ever get posted. Just because you're looking at LinkedIn doesn't mean that everyone's using LinkedIn. Just because you're posting on Indeed, not necessarily everyone's using Indeed. A lot of them are using internal referrals. 40% of candidates already know someone, they're already a known entity. And if you're a solid organization, you already have a referral program where you're giving out sort of bonuses to people who come up with candidates that get hired and stay in their jobs for at least 3 months. So, what do you do? Where does that leave you? So, here's the solution. You're going to write down a list of all the titles of the roles that you are applying to that you want to get hired for. And then you're going to go to LinkedIn and you're going to find these folks. And I'll show you in a second how you do that. Then you're going to message your first, pardon me, you're going to message your first level connections. Everyone here kind of know how LinkedIn works. I'll give you a quick surmise. So anyone that you're connected to on LinkedIn, that is your first level connection. But whomever they're connected to, that becomes your second level. And out of those folks, whomever they are connected to, that becomes your third level. And fourth level is what's called out of your network. So the bigger a first level amount of connections you have, the larger your second level connections are going to be, the larger your third connections are going to be. Now, I'm not trying to toot my horn. I've been in this for a while, and I will tell you, Jordy has actually more connections than me. But I will also tell you that out of my first level connections, my second level takes me to 2.5 million plus, and my third level takes me to over a billion. So if you connect with me, your third level connections automatically gain hypothetically 2.5, million folks. And there might be overlap, but already your network has grown. So you're going to message those first level connections. And what you're going to say is, hey, I'm working on a project, or I'm really looking for your insights, and I would love to basically interview you, like to talk with you, sort of, pick your brain. And then you're going to ask the most important question, which I'll share with you in a bit. And then you're going to follow up with a thank you message. And then you're going to wait. And then while you're waiting on your first level connections to reach out to you, if you've already absorbed, like already gone through all your first level connections, you're going to start reaching out to your second level connections. Okay. And you can also see who your third level connections are on LinkedIn. And I'll show you that. So if I go to my LinkedIn, and let's say, for example, I put a chief people officer, if you notice right next to people, it says first. So I probably have, in terms of chief people, executive, HR, yada, yada, yada. On each page, there's 10 people. I probably have about 26 pages. So if you do the math, that's about 260 people that I can reach out to who are my first level connections in the space, in the kind of titles that I'm looking to connect to. Now, as I said, once I've exhausted those, then what you can do is you unclick first and you click second. And now you're going to send a message that's basically a connection invite, but a connection invite with curiosity about them, because you want to interview those folks too. So what are you going to say when you're reaching out to your first level folks? Hi, Joey, Michael, okay, Jerlyn, okay, whomever that person's name is, you're going to put that in, copy and paste it. Hope this note finds you well. I'm really interested in learning more about your journey of whatever their title is and how, whatever that title is, that is the people that you want to talk to and how they've navigated their careers. Your path as specifically their title stood out to me, and I'd love to hear your perspective on what shaped your approach to the industry, what they do, and the future of that particular industry. Would you be open for a quick virtual coffee chat? I really value your insights. Warm regards, and then your name. Now, you're not really asking them for something, that they're going to give you except for their time. And what are you asking them for? To talk about themselves. Most people like to talk about themselves. So giving them an opportunity to talk about themselves and feel like they're important, it's a better chance than saying, hey, I saw that you had a job at your company and I wondered if, I might be a good fit. Doesn't work as well. So this is the message that you send out. Now, if you're not connected to that person and they're a second or third level connection, what do you say then? Hi, Ernst. I admire your journey as a CPO. I'm exploring how senior people leaders have built their careers and would love to connect and learn from your perspective. Really short and sweet. Again, it's a numbers game. It is not a guarantee that everyone's going to respond, depending on your field. You may have a field of individuals that are very busy, but you know what? If you reach out to enough folks, you're going to get responses. Now, again, I just want to show you this. You put in the title, LinkedIn will generate a list. And then you have first, and you have second, and you have third. Okay. And what does that interview look like? And this is just an example as to what I would be asking. The journey start, defining moment, style and approach, impact story. What was a tough lesson they learned? What are they looking ahead to? That means the future. Advice to one's younger self. And then the most important question. Now, if you're having a 30-minute conversation, and let's say that person is a big talker, I would try to trim down some of these questions, like sort of have like, hey, these are I'm going to watch the clock. And these are the questions that are really super important to ask. But if I find like I have enough time. Okay, maybe I'll insert this other question or this other question. Then you're going to get to the most important question. What are the three greatest challenges you are currently seeking answers to? So they're going to share with you their pain points. They're going to share with you what's keeping them up at night. They're going to share with you what are the problems that they're currently trying to solve. And then you're going to do your follow-up message. Hi, I want to thank you so much for your time and insights. I found them very intuitive and useful. I thought about the challenges you currently face and wondered if these ideas would be helpful. The first problem that they mentioned, well, what's a solution that you're suggesting? Same thing with second problem, same thing with the third problem. Again, I appreciate your time and your perspectives. Best wishes, your name. And this is the trap. A lot of people feel like this is now when I mention, hey, I'm looking for a job. Hey, do you know of anyone who's hiring? Hey, help me. And what happens is now all of a sudden, you're kind of ruining all the work that you did. Because by asking them now for something specific, it's like, okay, so you weren't really that interested in what I had to say about my perspectives. It was all about trying to get in with me and to ask for a job. Don't do that. Do what most people actually don't do. Don't ask for anything. And again, it's a numbers game. But what's going to happen is this: you're going to be different than a lot of other people that they hear from. You're going to be the person that not only took an interest in them, but you actually offered them some solutions to problems that they're actually working on. And maybe those solutions that you suggested, epiphanies for them. They're mind blowing. Maybe they're like, you know what? That person was right. Him is on the ball. And what happens is that oftentimes recruiters will be tapping the shoulders of people who they think might be a really great fit for what they're looking for. These individuals probably getting tapped every so often. And when they're getting tapped, they may go like, I'm actually happy where I am. I like the pay that I have. I'm not going anywhere. But you know what? I remember Tim. And Tim every once in a while checks in with me and asks how I'm doing and never asks me for anything else, just seems to be genuinely interested in my well-being and how I'm doing. You know what? Thanks so much for contacting me and letting me know about this job opportunity, but I know someone who actually might be a really good fit for what you're looking for. Tim, it's not a guarantee strategy, but the thing is that if you're only spending your time applying, applying, and applying, you're going to drive yourself crazy. And I would say that is the definition of insanity, right? To keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, this is a different strategy and it will increase your chances. The other thing I will also tell you is this: when you apply for a job, let's see if I can actually go back a couple of slides. So this one? Yeah. Okay. When you apply for a job, another thing you can do is this. First of all, take a look at Glassdoor at that same company. What do their reviews look like? If it's anywhere close to 3, it's probably closer to like a 2.5. And if it's a 4, probably closer to a 3.5. And if it's a 5, or a 4.5, it's probably a really good company. But also look at the reviews. The reviews will say, this place is really cool. I like working here. Management is really supportive. We've got a pool table, whatever. Look at the ones that sound genuine, as opposed to look at the complaints. And if they say, oh, really don't have anything to complain about here. No, read the complaints from the people who took the time to really vent, because between the two sides, you'll probably get an honest opinion about what the culture is of that organization. Now, mind you, you'll have some people who are probably very upset, very angry, and maybe rightfully so, or maybe wrongfully so. But try to weigh that, because you don't want to go necessarily into a place where you're going to be miserable. But then also, click that company on LinkedIn. And when you get there, click people or click employees. And you click employees, it'll give you a list. And let's say, for example, you get a page like this, and probably, there may be like second or third level connections. You may not be connected with them yet. But let's say, for example, you're looking for, a coding engineer, tech. And the kind of people that you would want to look for is what is the top titles for individuals who run those departments? And also, who are their recruiters? And they may not be big enough to have really recruiters. It just may be the HR department, maybe the HR generalist. Okay. But if it's a larger organization, they may have a ton of recruiters. So then you want to look for, is there anyone in this organization that looks like they have a title that they oversee IT? And you want to reach out to those individuals. Now, here it says message because I'm already connected to these folks, but it may say connect. You don't want to connect on a page like this. You want to actually click their name, go to their profile, and then click connect. And once you click connect, it's going to say, do you want to add a message? Heck yeah. Okay. And what do you want to say? Oh, I'm really looking for a job. I'd love to have a job. I applied for this role. No, you just say nice things about them. Hi, I'm looking to build my network with really strong professionals. I was very impressed with your background. I love the fact that you do this and also you volunteer for that. I actually have a soft spot for that as well. You have 300 spaces. That includes spaces, letters, numbers, and returns. So you may want to edit it a couple of times and see, like, okay, how do I manage that? So that I can copy and paste over and over again, making some slight changes to the people I'm connecting to. Once they connect with you, and again, it's a numbers game. Once they connect with you, then you can follow up. Thank you so much for connecting. I was checking out your company. It sounds like they do amazing work. And I saw that you're looking for some folks, maybe a person just like me. And I was wondering if you're the person handling this role, I would be so appreciative if you can lead me in the right direction. I'll leave it in your hands, but I'm also attaching a resume for your perusal. So you're giving them a lot of power, and you're also giving them, like, hey, I'm in your hands. You guide me. Again, it's a numbers game. It's a lot better than just applying for a job. Because if you just keep on applying and just go to the next, go to the next, go to the next, and not be reaching out to these folks, your chances are going to be slimmer. Now, as a recruiter, if someone reaches out to me, I would be like, wow, you're showing initiative, you're showing gumption. You know what? Are you a fit for what I'm looking for? Because if you are, and right now I'm looking at your profile as opposed to like however many have already applied, you've increased your chances. But again, that's me. I'm not telling you that a lot of other recruiters are like that. Greater majority aren't, but anyone who's got 2 cents, you know, who aren't a penny waiting for change will see the value in that. So, with that being said, thoughts, questions, answers, something different.
I'm still
Fire
just
away.
I'm still just chuckling at a penny awaiting for change. That is a great phrase.
Thank you. I picked that up in the North End
It
of Boston.
does not
It
surprise
was
me.
like, hey, how you doing? Don't talk to them. That's a penny waiting for change.
Yeah, I can see that in Boston.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
what's the most surprising response you've gotten back from one of those?
um, actually, I feel like if you phrase it the right way, and I would highly recommend if you're not a wordsmith, use ChatGPT,
Mhm.
use technology for your advantage. Don't use it for psychology. Don't use it as a therapist. Don't use it as your best friend. Okay. I think a human would be better than for that. But for asking, hey, how do I write this better? How do I make it sound warmer? How do I write it more concisely? those are the things that you can definitely do. And the responses are, hey, thank you so much for connecting with me. I'd love to talk. Um, this is what my schedule looks like, or right now I'm really busy. Maybe talk to me in a couple of months. It is whatever it is. But again, I also feel like the energy that you put out there to find a job, particularly if it is resourceful and more impactful, your return will be stronger.
So, I mean, how do you see the hidden job market really working? I mean, you said 88% of jobs out there aren't advertised, but I think it was 44% are known entities. So where's that other 44% coming from?
So the 44% are, let's say, for example, uh, there's been conversation in regard to what does this year's budget look like? And there's a couple of times during the course of the year that budgets come out, people start hiring. If you're on a calendar year, it's going to be January is going to be the launch point. If you're on a financial year where it ends in June and starts in July, July is going to be the kickoff point. But again, there's a surge of hiring in the autumn. And this is really where people are trying to finish up their teams. Even if those people are going to be starting in January or they're going to be starting in the autumn, they're trying to load up their team so that when they do go into 2026, they're already set up, as opposed to, you know what, yeah, I got my budget then in January, but now that means I have to spend a month or two ramping up new people so that they're getting to run in space, because not everyone is able to hit the ground running, particularly when you come even from one organization doing the same job into another organization. There's going to be differences, different culture, different systems, different, pathways and processes that they do things. So I would say, um, when those conversations are happening and they're saying, okay, I need this, a good organization will start to look and say, well, do we have anyone who could be promoted into those roles? Anyone who's ready to be promoted into those roles. So that's a job that's never going to get posted. Or, hey, we have this need. Do we have connections? Do we know of anyone? A good organization will have a referral program. And so they're already asking, like what I would do, for example, at Brain Corners is something I called Talent Search Tuesday. It was an email that went to the entire organization and it listed all our new jobs that came out that week. And also what were the current jobs that we had and we were still taking applicants for. And if someone gave us someone who stayed in their job for at least 3 months, then they got $500. If you're a bigger organization like Hewlett Packard, I think depending on the role was anywhere between $2,000 and $3,000 if you referred someone. You get a couple of referrals, I mean, that could be pretty sweet. So sometimes, like even with LinkedIn, when I was working there, they actually told us if anyone is referred, that's the first person you're looking at. And because of so many people being referred, you often spent a lot of time at the very beginning looking at those folks. So they already had an advantage. Then I would be looking at the individuals who are applying. So that's how that 44% works. And particularly when you get into higher level roles, more senior roles, it's already like, well, I worked with this person or I've seen what this person's been doing with their career, because every time we're going to a convention or if I have a big meeting, with whatever industry I'm in, I'm always hearing that person as a speaker, or I'm running into that person, or I'm sitting at the luncheon, break with those people. And those are the people that they start to feel closer to. So at the same time, the thing is that if you're if you're doing process that I'm mentioning, you're actually creating that relationship bridge with people. You're showing genuine interest in what they're about, because also you're going to be learning. When you're asking those questions, you're going to also be seeing, hey, you know what? I didn't think of it that way. Or you know what? That little piece of information that they just provided, that's gold. Because I'm sure a lot of other people in my role aren't thinking that same way. It's kind of like the expression, penny waiting for change. A few of you might use that in the future. You just got that little bit. Think about you have a longer conversation, and now you're learning about your own role through the perspectives of someone who's in that role currently at a company that maybe one day you'd like to be working with. And you're now enriching yourself information wise. So you're already becoming much more valuable in terms of your knowledge, speaking to a bunch of different individuals. So your interest is genuine. And when you make suggestions, that even makes you even more valuable to them. And that creates a bond, an affinity. And that's what you want to do because you want them to think about you when they're not interested in a role. Or if something comes up in their company and they go, you know what, I want to contact this person because they actually gave me some suggestions that were pretty smart. I like them. And I think that that might be someone who I could see myself working with. And that's one of the big things, too. A lot of people make a decision as to, yeah, they can do the job, but if I have three people that can do the job, who's the person that I think is going to be, really the person watching my six, the person who's going to help me become a better professional, like whatever is going to be my take on it, that we're going to have a healthy, growing relationship working together. We're going to be both better for it.
So is that kind of why you said that applying is the weakest move in the job search?
It's a necessary evil, but I would say have it only be one of your approaches. I would not stop applying, but again, you got to do more than just applying. And with applying, and I mentioned this in a previous meeting, a mentorship meeting. The thing is that even LinkedIn says the best day to apply is Tuesday. So, yeah, it kind of flows with Monday afternoon works, Tuesday's the best, first part of Wednesday is still good, and then it sort of pitters off. Um, and once you start applying, you can also set things as to, okay, now I want to see jobs that have been posted in the last 24 hours. If you're on top of it that way, as opposed to, well, I didn't really look for 4 or 5 days. Now I need to look at all the jobs for the last week. You're going to be looking a lot more. So if you spend a little bit of time every day and look at the last 24 hours, it's not going to feel as burdensome, but also at the same time, reach out to 20 folks a day who are in the titles and working in the roles that you want to be employed as. And see if you can build up those relationships. Because again, if they feel comfortable with you, if they see value in you, if they feel like, hey, this person was definitely interesting to meet, then that just raises your stakes, like raises your uh, power, raises your capability to land something.
It's good. Lauren, go ahead.
So kind of going off what we've been going over. So my own stumbling block, because if I knew I would have had this before I actually started reaching out to people. So I've actually made a lot of these mistakes. I'm not gonna lie, because I didn't know what I was doing, and I've had asked ChatGPT how to reach out to people because it's my first time making connections, reaching out to people without doing it face to face. So it's very different. And it ended up being where I asked, like, oh, is there any positions over in your area? Which is like, no, come to find out. But at the end of the day, I do have like a coffee date, and we're gonna go sit down and just talk and get to know each other and just see what she does for her job, what her thoughts are. And so at the end of the day, it actually worked out great, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, I did a lot of these mistakes. So it's definitely a great to hear that I'm I'm kind of going the right step now, but I've learned now what not to do.
Well, I always look at it this way is that think of it like you're in surgery. Are you going to be 100%, you know, doing the right absolute thing every single move that you're making? The chances of that are pretty slim, okay, that you're going to be 100%. But as long as you don't lose the patient, that's the most important thing. You don't want to lose the patient. Probably also don't want to lose your wristwatch or any of your tools as well, but don't lose the patient is number one. So mistakes happen, and this is how we learn. If we never made mistakes, we would definitely find ourselves not as knowledgeable as we are now. So never beat yourself up in regard to making a mistake. Mistakes are natural, mistakes are important, and life beats us up enough. So, be your biggest cheerleader. That's what I say. Like, really, really give yourself a pep talk and root for yourself because you know what? If you feel like, hey, I got my back myself, I'm pushing myself. Okay, I believe in me, you can be unstoppable. And no, I'm going to have some stumbling blocks. I'm not going to always be smooth sailing, but you know what? I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn from those opportunities. Like even when I've led my teams and mistakes have happened, my number one go to is okay, first of all, how do we fix this? Like before it becomes any sort of damage. And I tell them, don't try to superhero through this. I don't want to get hit like by a Mack truck out of nowhere, and all of a sudden leadership's coming to me and telling me something that's gone wrong because you didn't share it with me. As soon as something happens, let me know. Let's see what we can fix. Also, let's take ownership. Let's apologize anyone that we wronged or mishandled anything, and then let's learn from it. How do we do it better? How do we not repeat it? So always look at any mistake as, hey, this is another opportunity to become better. So, Lauren, you're doing fantastic. Keep on going. And it's great to hear that you've already started, in this pathway. And give yourself a little bit of a tap on the shoulder as to, hey, you're heading in the right direction. And sure, you made some mistakes, but you didn't lose the patient.
Good way of looking at it. No, no lost wristwatches. I mean, you mentioned earlier on that, you didn't want these contacts to feel transactional. So, I mean, how do you keep those relationships alive so they don't come across feeling transactional?
Uh, LinkedIn does something where if you actually put down your birth date, it will mention, like in your notifications, hey, it's someone's birthday today. It'll also give you a notification as to, hey, someone's hiring. It'll also give you a notification as to, hey, they have a new job, okay, or they did a posting. Now, everyone usually thinks of their birthday as a very, very special day. So if you celebrate it as well, it's a nice little thing. And at the same time, if you um, see that they're hiring, why not say like, hey, how are you? Just wanted to see how things are going and really thought that our conversation was great and I appreciated your insights. No mention of anything. Okay. But you're putting yourself on the radar because you also see that they're hiring. Or if they post something, take a look at it. Maybe it's a posting that you're like, wow, that resonates with me. Repost it with a couple of words or something that you want to say about it and utilize that, like basically take a ride on their coattails of something that they created so that it also becomes part of your LinkedIn profile. Because what happens is this, the algorithms work in such a way that if you're posting, then the algorithms will start bringing you further up in terms of people should look at your profile. So that's something to consider as well.
Interesting. So, how do how do you best see us positioning ourselves as assets and not just applicants where we're coming in kind of raw?
Well, I think that having a conversation with someone and learning about their struggles, learning about what are they doing, where do they see the future, and basically having that virtual coffee with them and getting their perspectives But then following up and offering them solutions, who does that?
Yeah,
We
good point.
live in a society that's very much about gimme, 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 but what are you giving? And I know all of you have given a lot of yourselves, and probably not of just yourselves, but also your families, because being, you know, part of the military personnel, that's a big sacrifice. That's huge. So I know you have it in you to give. And in this way, too, you also deserve to be given back, as opposed to just, thank you very much for your service. And then they don't know what to do.
Yeah, we've all been there. Can you share a success story of somebody who's done this where you're like, I cannot believe you landed in such an awesome job?
So a couple of people have, because I did a couple of things with them. One of the things I would say is there was an individual who was a chiropractor, wanted to get into sales. And as I mentioned before, I said, look, your self branding, you may say you want to be perceived as a horse, but all I see is zebra. You're screaming zebra here.
Mhm.
Because why? The only thing on their resume that said sales was target, career, sales professional. Okay. But I look at everything else on page one and all says chiropractor, chiropractor, chiropractor. Page two, at a certain job, there were two bullet points that had actually statistics of things that they had achieved. 150% of this, or top performer, or whatever it said. But I said, that's on page two. The thing is that I've heard recruiters, and anytime any recruiter said it to me, I always think like, well, I would never want you to actually be on my team because that sounds very lazy.
Mhm.
Where they go, well, if I don't see it on page one, I'm not reading anymore. The reality is you have 10 to 15 seconds to basically smash someone in the face and say, hey, I'm relevant and I'm really good at what I do. And then the rest of it is mostly a cakewalk. Because if you can really get them with that, the rest is easy. But so I worked with this individual. I told them about this methodology. And once they had rebranded, not just on their resume, but also on LinkedIn, and as opposed, like they owned their own business as a chiropractor. Well, I said, well, if you own your own business, guess what? You can also give yourself your own title. Instead of saying, hey, I was the chiropractor and the founder, you could say, I was the primary salesperson. And these are the achievements. I built a business from zero to what was the top performer. I achieved, 150% of yada yada. I brought in whales, that were equivalent to this amount. Because I will tell you, also having been a business owner, I was the business owner, I was the business trainer, I was the business hirer, I was the business check writer, I was the new business creator, plus vacuum cleaner and coffee maker. So if I wanted to say I did sales, absolutely. So you have to look at what you've done and say, okay, what are going to be the things that are going to catch people's attention when they do look at my profile? But in the meantime, I'm just trying to get an opportunity to talk to someone. That's the biggest thing. Because most of the time, when you're just applying, you don't get that opportunity to have a chat. So if you can get a conversation with someone, and why I say, like, yeah, people in your own title, you know what? Try to reach out to a couple of people who hire those people like you, who would be hiring someone with your title, and talk to those leaders and get their perspective. Don't mention that you're looking for a job. If they say, so, you know, are you looking for a job? You can also say, like, there's a difference between wanting and needing. You can always say, I'm always open to listening. Because even if you have a job and you're happy at your job, why wouldn't you listen?
Mhm. Unless you own the business. Excuse me. It's funny you say that about the recruiters thing in the first couple minutes because I was looking at hundreds of resumes a day, and I would find myself guilty of getting close to that, but I would still go through the entire resume because I noticed I had some applicants that the other recruiters never even sent to the hiring manager. And I looked and I dug into the resume and I actually tried to understand it. And I was like, some of those folks got hired simply because, the recruiters in a lot of these places, they don't actually do the job. That was something I had to explain to people is like, I was working for, a place that made jet engines. I was the only person who ever actually touched a jet engine on the recruiting side. So when they're talking about this stuff, I got what they're saying, but a lot of the other recruiters absolutely no idea. So you have to kind of make it dummy proof to get it through that first wicket to get in front of a hiring manager who will understand that. I mean, do you see a lot of that too?
Absolutely. I mean, I always look at it as don't ask me to do the surgery, but I could find you the doctor. But I also need enough information. If I've been doing this for a while, then I have a general bank of knowledge that's going to help me decipher through talking with someone, looking at their resume as to is this going to be a good candidate in terms of what they know and can they do the job? But the other parts of it are also, are you going to be a fit for this organization? Are you going to be an added value to this organization beyond, yeah, you could do the job? Because maybe there's 10 of you who could do the job, but who's going to be the person who might have that skill set that may become a leader down the road? Because you can have leadership qualities without having a leadership title. And people will also feel more comfortable making you a leader if they already see those dynamics in how you operate daily. So I think that recruiters will read resumes 120 miles an hour. That's why on resumes, I put certain things in bold. I put down achievements in bold. Hey, one organization and I helped them grow from 100 million to 4 billion. 4 billion is in bold. If I said I helped an organization save $15 million, 15 million is in bold. Now, someone may come along and say, well, grammatically and so forth, that just doesn't look very good. And you just smile and you go, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Some crazy person that, I had a meeting with, said I should do it, but I can see your point. In the meantime, you're thinking in your head, even you blind bat, saw those because I know you were reading my resume 120 miles an hour, and those are visual speed bumps. Guess what? You looked at them, and not just that, you commented on them. So I know you looked at them. And that's what you want. You want to control the reader. And that's why I say those first 10, 15 seconds, hey, I got my name, got my contact details. Guess what? Don't put in your street address. And I live in greater California, like greater Los Angeles. I'm not putting down, you know, the town that I live in, because no one's going to know the difference between Snard, Woodland Hills, Ontario. They're not even going to bother Googling it up. But if you say greater Los Angeles, the biggest city that I live closest to, they're going to go, well, that's relevant because I'm looking for people in the LA area. Whether it's Wichita, Kansas, or New York City, or Cleveland, Ohio, whatever's the biggest city, don't put down your suburb, don't put down your street address. No one needs that until they're ready to hire you. And then put down some titles. What exactly it is that you're looking to be hired for? Because if I read those, I'm going, okay, I'm on the right path here. And then a short paragraph for over how many years? If you've been doing something for 20, 25 years, just say 15 plus, because you don't want to age yourself out. As much as we talk about being equitable, okay, as much as we talk about being supportive of each other as human beings, and we want to bring that equity and fairness into the workplace, ageism is rampant. I mean, it's pretty bad. So you don't want to say anything over 15, just so 15 plus. And who did you work for? Hey, DOD, the United States government. Okay. And then what are your achievements? Give me your top 4 or 5 bullet point achievements with those numbers, because everyone understands numbers in bold. And if I'm seeing like, wow, okay, this person has a background, they've had a long career, they've actually worked with some companies or organizations that I've heard of. Ooh, Department of Defense, the United States military, the United States government. I think I've heard of those. And then I look at your achievements and I'm thinking, this is working for me. If I then go into your history and I see staff sergeant as a corporate person, I will tell you the greater majority of us will get lost. That's why you need to find a title synonymous that is a corporate title, put that instead, and you can put in parentheses what your military title is. And then I would divide it between responsibilities and achievements, because usually people mash that all up. And you don't want to confuse these poor recruiters that go, that's a responsibility. This is an achievement. This is another achievement. Oh, that's another responsibility. Wait, this is a greater achievement. You're moving them all over the place. Give brief 4 bullet points, 5 bullet points. These are my responsibilities. And then underneath that, your key achievements in that role. You need to spoon feed the reader. Okay, think of it as like cereal, Lucky Charms. All right, they take a spoon, they hear the crunchy, they're tasting the cereal, and ooh, whoa, there's a sugar hit there because I just bit into a star or a moon or whatever. Okay, those are your achievements. Okay, and if you're a 5-year-old kid eating cereal like that, you got a big smile on your face. That's the recruiter. That's what you want with the recruiter.
Yeah. Yeah, because we love nothing more than finding easy wins. One of the things that I wish I'd thought of it, I had an applicant do it, and I was like, this is genius. He actually went and highlighted the basic qualifications and the preferred qualifications in his resume with the yellow highlighter in Word. And I'll tell you what, he got the job because, it made it so easy for me to go, yep, you're good. Send it right off to the hiring manager. Because that told me a couple things. One, he was qualified. Two, he actually read the job announcement and
Mhm.
took the time to go, this is why I'm qualified, which added so much to his resume by making it easy for me.
Well, it also works for interviews because the thing is that if you look at what are the requirements that most companies are looking for in the jobs that you're looking to get, you need to say, okay, this is sort of like the um, predominant checklist of the requirements they're looking for. How do I match with that and make that part of my resume? But then also, when you're interviewing, look at the responsibilities, look at the requirements, because that will give you some intel as to, well, what are the questions that they're going to ask? Also, put yourself in the shoes of the interviewer. If I were interviewing someone for this role, what would be the questions that I feel I would want to know? Usually, at least at some point, they're going to ask you, tell us about a project that you worked on. Maybe they will say it in the way that the project you worked on, what was the challenges you faced and how did you deal with the challenges? Because they're looking for how do you deal with stress? How do you deal when things don't go your way or things aren't going smoothly? How do you deal with pressure? How do you deal with challenges? How do you overcome them? And also at the same time, like the A answer for me is when I was at such and such, I was asked to do what? And the goal was this. So I understood what the stakeholders needed. I then pulled together my subject matter experts and collaborated with them. We put together a plan. As we were rolling out the plan, maybe it was because of the vendor, maybe it was because of the technology itself as something was getting rolled out. Maybe there was something unforeseen, COVID. Okay, whatever it was, you faced that challenge. How then did you collaborate, come up with an alternative plan, or figured out a way to circumvent that bottleneck and come up with a solution? And then the A plus answer is this, which most no one does. One thing I learned about this, and if I were to do this over again, I would make one change, and it's this, or I learned this from that experience, because that just takes it to a whole different level. That means that, yeah, not only do I do my job, but I'm also trying to learn from it, and I'm always trying to get better.
Makes a lot of sense. Taya, thanks a ton for joining us today. You have any closing thoughts before I let you get going?
Yeah. Okay, remember the more part? Okay, hey, I'm McDaniel. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a solid network. Feel free to reach out to me. And you're going to see follow, click more, and hit connect. Okay. I just want to say thank you very much, everyone, for your time. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate what you've done. And I'm trying to make a difference as to not just saying, I appreciate your service and thank you. I really want to see all of you have fantastic next chapters in your life.
You're the man.
Hey, great job, buddy. That was awesome. Once again.
All right. Thank you. Heading out.
Thanks, Tay. It was great seeing you again, brother.
All right. Take care.
Yeah.
Cheers, Jordy.
All right. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate you doing that. All right,
Awesome. Love
guys.
doing it.
That was good, man. He knows his stuff.
Yeah, he's good dude.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, let me see. It's 3 now. It's gonna be like more of a casual office hours. I'm